Robert Ferringo with Doc Sports, here once again with your weekly NBA playoff handicapping extravaganza. With me, as always, is Nolan Patrick of Strike Point Sports. Before we get to Nolan, let's pay some bills, shall we? Like and subscribe if you are into at all what we are talking about here, or you just like more videos like this. Doc Sports YouTube channel is one of the most informative and prolific YouTube channels in terms of pumping out free pick videos and just informational sports betting videos. Be sure to check out our sports betting 101 section. Also, down in the description below, click on that free $60 link. You can get $60, same as cash, free to be used at Doc Sports. Good for any handicapper in any sport for any package that you would like. All right, Nolan, we have one half of the NBA Finals set. Denver in a sweep. I don't think either one of us was totally surprised by that. They were obviously the better team. You thought maybe the Lakers would steal one game just out of pride because they've been so good at home in the playoffs. But I don't think there was any question who the better team was in that half of the bracket. And Thursday, we have Game 5, Miami at Boston. Before we get to that, just thoughts on, wrap up the Denver-Los Angeles series and what you think about Denver moving forward.
Well, I mean, Denver overall has definitely been the most consistent team. Jokic has been the best player in the playoffs. Murray is playing outstanding. The Denver role players are playing really, really well. It seems like impossible to beat in Denver, which is great for the number one seed in the Western Conference as they have home court advantage each and every round. I can honestly say at the beginning, the very first video that we did together, I told you I wasn't completely sold on Denver. So the Nuggets have proven me wrong time and time again. Something about them just didn't sit well with me. And it just shows you that I was not correct when it comes to that team. They have been absolutely outstanding thus far.
I was with you 100%, to be honest with you. I thought that they were kind of a soft number one seed. And the thing that jumped out at me, the reason that I wasn't all in on them is, you talk about their role players playing well. That's fine, but they don't use a bench. Brown and Green are really the only guys that come off the bench. It is their starting five, and I did not know if that was going to be sustainable throughout the entire playoffs. If one guy has a bad series, maybe there's an injury. I feel like the margin for error for them is pretty slim because they only use 7 guys. And those starters are logging a lot of minutes. And can they do that for 2 full months at an extraordinarily high level? To this point, the answer is yes. The fact that they got the sweep means that they can rest everyone and prepare themselves for the NBA Finals. And now it's all hands on deck. Nobody's tired in the NBA Finals.
Right.
So, they have the best starting 5. I think they put the best 5-man team out there. We can make arguments about, whether Jimmy Butler is playing better than Jokic or whether Boston still has the most talented all-around team. But I think if you're just talking starting 5, and that's what Denver throws at you, I think the Nuggets have the best starting 5 of anybody left in the playoffs.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed 100%.
Right. We have to see who the Nuggets are going to line up against, and that's going to be either Miami or Boston. So, Miami wins the first 3 games. Boston is still talking trash about don't let us win one. Oh, don't let us win one. Don't let us back into it. They blow Miami out in game 4, coming back in game 5 on Thursday. And wouldn't you know it, the odds makers I don't know if they're just lazy or what the score is, but they are once again down 3-1 after losing the first 2 games at home. They're an 8-point favorite in this game. Is there any earthly reason that we shouldn't dive in with the public and take the points in this game?
Earlier in this season when Miami won game 1 and they were going, into game 2 and Boston had their back against the wall. And I said, matter-of-factly, I am on the Celtics. They are going to win this game. They are going to cover this line. The Celtics have the ability to blow teams out, especially in Boston. I am on the other side of it. How can you not take Miami? Miami is back in that role of playoff underdog, not necessarily because that they're up 3-1, but they're back in the role of we're getting points. We're being disrespected. And let's be honest, handing Miami 8 points when they're already up 3-1, they've already gone into Boston and beaten them twice. They've done it to every team in the postseason. That's just a slap in the face of this Heat team. I'm going to take the points. There's no way I'm laying them with Boston. Not at all.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's a mentality for them, right? They can play that disrespect card, and that's where they thrive. And look, I mean, Boston hasn't been any good at home. They're 2-5
No.
straight up in their last 7 home games. They lost a home game to Atlanta. They lost a couple to Philadelphia, and they've already lost a couple to Miami. They're not very good at home. They're not this dominating, overwhelming force at home. Now, 70% of the public is on Miami heading into this game. And we're recording this on Wednesday, so we still have another 24 hours of public money to come in on the Heat. Do you anticipate that number coming down? And corollary to that question, if the line actually moves up to 8.5, kind of indicating big money, sharp money coming in on Boston, would that sway you at all?
Yes, I actually think it would. If all of a sudden the line went up to 8.5, that absolutely tells you that the sharp money, the big bettors, the people that are out there that, really, really are tuned into this type of matchup are on that side. That would sway me a little bit. It would definitely give me pause, because we've been doing this long enough that when you see something like that happen, when the money is all over the public side, but then the line goes in the opposite direction all of a sudden, that's because big money is coming in the other way, or the sharp bettors, so to speak, are coming the other way. The other thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to this, if that line does stay right about where it is, and a lot of people are on the Heat, the public is on the underdog. We talked about this. I love going back to our old videos. We talked about this before, and this is something that you and I have discussed at length, and it's the undervalued favorite. It's when a bunch of money is on the underdog, and usually we say 65 to 70% of the money is on the underdog. The favorite is the play in that game. I'm sorry, the undervalued favorite is what I meant to say, if that's what I said. When you get a favorite that is undervalued and a ton of money is on the dog, I'm jumping on that favorite side, which would be the exact opposite of literally what I just said, how I'm going to be on the Heat. But that's something you really want to take a look at. If the public is up to 65 to 70% on the Heat in this game, you're going to get the Celtics undervalued as a favorite, and that's something you want to take a look at.
Yeah, that's the difference between playoff betting and regular season betting, right? Like they're two completely different beasts. You really have to take two completely different mentalities. Okay, to your point, if this were just a regular game in January or middle of the week in February, and this was the number, it was, shaded high towards Boston, -8, -8.5, and 75% of the public is on the underdog. That's what we do. That's what you and I do. That we jump on those favorites in those instances, and that has been a long time proven moneymaker in NBA betting. Here in the playoffs, this is different. There's different context to it in the playoffs. Frankly, this is the time of the year where, and I think I've passed 4 or 5 days in a row. I don't think I played any of the Denver LA series after game 1 because of that. I think that a lot of the value is gone in NBA betting. Now, some people thrive. Doc Sports, I know, is 11-2 in their last 13 NBA games. They have an 8-unit game of the year coming up in this game on Thursday. They're locked in right now. I know Arun Shiva always thrives in these situations where, hey, there's one game on the board, get after it. I don't like this at all. I'm the opposite type of handicapper. Give me 7 or 8 games, and I can just find one that I like versus this is the game, this is the number, there's public pressure on this side. My handicapping instincts are telling me this. That's why I don't see a lot of value. I'm kind of with you. For me, it's Miami or nothing tomorrow because Boston, laying 8 points. Like they're 3-5 against the spread in their last 8 games. I could see them losing this. It would not be a shocker to either one of us if Boston loses this game. Am I right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Okay. let's just say, for the sake of this, because we won't be doing another one of these videos till next week. So let's just be devil's advocates right now. Let's say Boston wins game 5, whether they cover or not, throw that out the window. Going back to Miami for game 6, what do you think the number is going to be? And does Boston now have the momentum?
I do not think you will see Miami -1.5 like you did in game 3 or game 4. I don't think you're going to see Miami as a small favorite. I think you're going to see Boston as a small road favorite. You know, if I remember correctly, game 3, wasn't Boston still -3.5? Something along that line. I see Boston being about -2.5 in that next game, in game 6. If Boston happens to win and pushes it back to Miami for game 6, I see Boston being -2.5 in that game. I really do. It's going to be a lot of momentum.
Okay, let's talk total. I know you're not a big totals player. I generally am. That last game, game 4, was the first game in the series to go under, depending on where you got the line. Okay,
Yeah.
the total finished at 215. The line closed at 216. This is why we always advocate line shopping, having more than one sports book, having different options there. It's been a higher scoring series. I think the total in that first game was right around 210. Now it's up in that 215, 216 range. So you see the upward pressure. Do you see this game 5 being a high scoring game, or do you think Miami puts the clamps on?
No, I do. I see it being a high-scoring game again. I really do. We talked about this earlier when this series started, that these two teams can score the basketball. Miami is shooting the ball really, really well. You know, their role players, like we talked about with Denver, are playing great basketball. They're getting points all over the court. Jimmy Butler has the ability to go off for 30 at any given moment, and the Celtics have guys that can do the same thing. You know, Tatum can drop 45 when he wants to. Jaylen Brown is right there with another 25, 30 if he needs to. I would go over again. We talked about how these two teams, you know, yes, they have the ability to put the clamps on, but they haven't really done it a lot. Miami did it in the previous round just because the Knicks stunk offensively. It wasn't necessarily because Miami was playing such great defense. So I would go over in the next game as well. I think it's going to be right there. But like you said, I think it's going to be close. I think Vegas is right on it. You know, I think they're really close to these totals. If you take a look at the Denver and LA series, I mean, geez, the first couple games of that series, you either won or lost by half a point with whatever the number was. You were winning by a bucket or a missed free throw or whatever. Vegas is on point. So you got to be really careful, but I would take the over.
Yeah, it was the same in that Lakers Golden State Warriors series as well, right? Like it seemed like every game was coming right down around that total. I actually agree with you 100%. I think that this is where the value is for Thursday night, and that's on the over, because one of two things are going to happen. All right, Boston is either going to play well, win this game, extend the series. If they do that, it will be on the strength of their offense. Okay, that's what has gotten to them to this point. That is what got them through most of the regular season. That's their strength. They're going to win or lose, and they're going out firing, basically.
Right.
Okay. Miami's either going to have to keep up with that, or Boston will run away and could hang 125 on them on their own. Or if Miami wins this game outright, I don't think it's going to be defensively. I think they're going to have to beat Boston at their own game. And if you go back and look at, I think it was going back since the first of this year, not counting the playoffs, Boston is actually, does it count the playoffs? I think it counts. Counting the playoffs, Boston is 6-2 against the total in their last 8 home losses. That's what it was. And they are 7-3 against the total in home losses this year. Basically, what that is saying is the teams that have beat Boston in Boston this year have done so in shootouts or in overtime. Yes. Like, if you beat Boston on their home court, you better do it with your attack. You better make some shots. You're not going to grind them down. So if you like Miami in this game, and a lot of people do, and if you think Miami is going to win this game, I think you have to look at the over. Do you feel like I'm on to something here?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I really do. I think I don't see Miami going in and just winning a 96-92 game like they did when they knocked the Knicks out of the playoffs. I don't see that happening in Boston. I really don't. And if you like Miami, it goes along with another old betting adage of you like an underdog, you take the over. Underdogs and
Underdog
overs.
and over. Yep, all day, every day. All right, folks. That is Nolan Patrick with Strike Point Sports, one of the best in the business. This is also a good time to remind you that Strike Point Sports will have their first 7-unit WNBA game on Thursday. All right. One of the top WNBA handicappers in the country as well. They just know all things basketball, folks. And just because the NBA season is winding down doesn't mean that there aren't basketball winners to be cashed all summer. So that is it for today. Thank you for stopping by. Like and subscribe. We will have more videos next week. Until then, carpe diem and good luck.